All right, let's get into it. Preview the two big games on the weekend. I want to delve into the NRLW a bit with you. Obviously, the Sydney Roosters up against the Cronulla Sharks, second versus fourth on the ladder. Obviously, the Sharkies getting it done against the Broncos on the weekend. I want to know, first of all, just your initial thoughts about this game and how you see it getting set up.
Yeah, well, firstly, the Sharks have been super resilient this year. They had 6 straight wins, 3 losses after that, but defensively they've been pretty sound. They had a blowout against the Roosters, which was, I think, was an outlier of their season. But yeah, when playing against them, they kept turning up for each other. They're very physical through the middle, and I think that they'll try and get stuck into the Roosters pack early and try and get some of their bench players on. But with their attack, their back five's been great. Penatani and also Biddle bringing the ball back has set a platform for them to go down there. And I don't think if the Sharks win, it's going to be a big score. I think that they're going to try and keep it tight and a 14-10, 16-12 sort of score. The big thing for the Sharks is they've got to be able to kick and keep Bremner and that back five for the Roosters pinned down in that corner and make their big forwards go and get it. If you look at the Roosters, a lot of star power everywhere, a lot of points across their side, and they go in heavy favourites. And if they can get off to a fast start, they could blow the doors off the Sharks. But I feel like the one part to beat the Roosters is maybe how the Sharks beat the Broncos is go down there, frustrate them. Don't be worried if you don't get points early, but just try and keep them from getting points. And they've shown, they potentially go away from their plan a little bit, and maybe the Sharks get a chance to put some pressure on them. But I think the Roosters have enough strike, enough strike to, go and win this game. But it proves to be a matchup of a gritty side, the Sharks, exciting that they're there up against the Roosters side that's got plenty of points in them. And could potentially, go on and win this game.
I want to pick your brain a little bit. I don't know how much you're going to give away to us at the moment, but I'm going to ask and see what I can get out of you. I want you to tell us how you would beat both of these sides if you're coming up against them on Sunday, and the sort of tactics you'd probably enforce and have seen, I guess, weaknesses in either of these two teams throughout the last couple of years that you could probably exploit.
Okay, so if I was the Roosters head coach and John Strange, who's a great coach, he's beat me in a grand final a couple of years ago, but he's proven that he's very consistent in his methodology and how he goes about things. I think if I'm the Roosters and I want to beat the Sharks, I'd be going down with a plan to kick to their left-hand side, make Biddle go back and get the ball and come around and put pressure on her from marker. And this way, front load our energy defensively by making them come out of their end, because when the Sharks are going great, they're rolling through the middle with Johnson and also Wheeler and Anderson. It's a no frills kind of attack. So I'd be kicking early down that side, making them go back and get the ball, and then condensing our defensive line. And then attacking wise, when we get down there, I think on an edge defensively, the Sharks are really good. I'd be getting Keely Davis to come out and play some drop plays to build our set, not trying to go around them, but try and go through them a little bit, and put pressure on them to make tackles again, but also with a method of, be patient, don't go down there and try and go around them and come up with the big play. Let's turn Isabel Kelly back underneath if you're Taron Aitken or Keller, and if you're on the right-hand side, Surges back against the grain to put some pressure on those middles, who are going to have their work cut out for them. If you look to the other side, and Tony Herman, they've done a lot of great things this year. I think the game plan may be the same. Go down there, let's try and isolate Bremner and put some pressure on her to make her not have that free run of bringing the ball back. Let's try and land on the kick a little bit. So I'd kick to the right-hand side. Let's see her carry the ball left-handed, come out that way, to be able to bring the ball back. And then if you're looking defensively, they're so strong with Kelly and Surges on an edge. I think most teams have struggled when they play that block shape out the back to be able to try and get to the outside. Again, I'd be trying to pepper maybe just inside their back rolls a little bit. And I'd be encouraging Hanaway and also Preston to run the footy early. I think that if you can set them up and then double down on that short side, that may be a chance to be able to get them to come up and then have to reset, get someone else to travel, and have someone like Penatani down that short side, but Tonagato bring her into that first receiver. So if you're on the left-hand side, Surgis comes up past the ball. Don't think that we have to go back to the middle, wait for that middle to travel, and then have Tonagato come in, not necessarily be at the back, but just have that flat shape where she can hit short or long and try and get Surgis to make a bit of a read. And then same on the other side with Kelly. But it'll be, I think both sides will try and play very, very similar early. It could be nip and tuck, and it'll come down to whoever makes a mistake first, which, in the NRLW at the moment, building cycles and breaking cycles is a big thing.
I look at both sides, and the mouth-watering clash for mine is obviously in the centres, and I feel like Sturgis and Kelly up against Penatani and Biddle is worth the price of admission alone, because I think both are in great form as both centre pairings. As you've sort of explained already, they both got great defensive and attacking qualities about them, all four players. So it is a mouth-watering clash, that one. I feel like that is huge for the contest and how this game shapes up in terms of the winner and the loser.
Yeah, well, Vanessa Biddle's been fantastic in her post-contact meters and carrying the footy, and a bit of a surprise that she probably wasn't in that, team of the year. But she's coming up against the best centre in the world in Isabel Kelly. The way that she carries the footy, but defensively, I think she's made better reads. As she's played more footy, which you tend to happen. Got such admiration for the way that she's led the Roosters this year and the way that she carries herself within the game. She's really a leader within the NRLW. So she'd be relishing the challenge. Yeah, she'd be relishing the challenge of going up against Vanessa, a bigger body. And then you look the other side, Surgis v Penatani. Surgis been out a long time. I think Tiana's really flourished in terms of she was on the wing for Origin. She's definitely a centre, for me, in terms of the way that she holds that edge together. So they're just brute strength and athletes on that side. So it's going to be a mouth-watering battle, as you said.
Yeah. Where do you see it? Who's going to win this game? And give us your bold prediction.
I think Roosters. Taryn Aitken, for me, hasn't gotten enough respect on how good she is. Plus, I just think Millie Boyle, the way that the Sharks are going to play may suit the Roosters a little bit more than how the Roosters are going to play versus the Sharks. So I think the Roosters in a tight one.
Yep. Just quickly as well, there's a bit of a story here, because is it true that Sammy Bremner, for those that are not too sure, she actually did retire last year? There was a bit of an injury for the Roosters early on this year, and she's come out of retirement, and then I think she's back into retirement after this game. It's been an incredible little journey this year for Sammy Bremner, and going off her form and some of her performances this year, maybe she retired a bit early, because she's been so good, and it's like they haven't missed a beat in a way with her there.
Yeah, she's got 3 kids. She's an amazing athlete. She's a fantastic role model for NRLW and mothers within the game. She goes into a pathways role, I think, next year at the Dragons. So, she's well established in terms of what she's done in her career, and I think the only thing she's missing is a premiership. So, the way that she's competed, ran the footy, has certainly not. As you said, they haven't missed a beat, the Roosters, and she's such an energizer bunny in terms of bringing the ball back. So, be interested to see how the Sharks try and shut her down, whether they jam in on her quick and make her be a ball player, or whether they try and get to the half and then just stay connected as an edge.
Yeah. It's little ball prediction now. Do you reckon she'll be able to handle not being able to put a Dragons jersey on next year, or will we at some point see her pull that Red V jersey on?
Nah, she won't, mate. I think she'll be done. Right. She'll enjoy the pathways role. It's I'm not going to be arrogant there, but it's good pathways to have. It's been set up pretty well.
I can vouch for that one. It looked like, as you can see by some of the awards on the weekend, there are some very good quality kids coming through there. Exciting times there at the Dragons. And the NRL Grand Final as well. We've got the two juggernauts of the competition, the Melbourne Storm finishing first versus the Penrith Panthers finishing second. I am so excited for this game as a neutral fan. I know there's people out there saying, oh, it's a bit boring, but I think this is totally opposite. I think this could be one of the all-time grand finals with the battle that's going to be put on. You look all over the park, there is literally battles everywhere. It's mouth-watering. It's going to be a classic. I keep saying it. What are your thoughts on this grand final? It really could be one for the ages.
Yeah, well, the only people that are upset about it being 1v2 are Parramatta fans because their team's not in it. So,
sorry.
I say that tongue in cheek as I look at Jim Dimmick and Jason Smith in the background. Look, I think the best two teams, even in the finals, the best two teams are playing, and that's what you want. There's some mouth-watering clashes, the halves, the spine, power ranking the spine, individual players. To think that Ryan Papenhuyzen is at 7 and maybe Mitch Kenny at 8, is ridiculous, right? I think the one that we haven't talked about, the battle pretty much anywhere, is Josh King versus James Fisher-Harris. That battle there, you got the typical worker, Melbourne Storm type player who's been an unsung hero. No one's really talked about him. He's underrated versus James Fisher-Harris, and we know how good he's been in finals. I think that could be a battle that, if Melbourne are able to get on top of that early, they potentially put their noses in front, because whilst they've both got points, they both know how to get into a cycle and play footy. Jerome Hughes, fantastic runner of the ball, probably runs it a little bit more than Nathan, but Nathan's kicking game probably outweighs Jerome's a little bit. So, I think the Josh King, James Fisher-Harris battle for me early doors could go a long way to winning the grand final. The Melbourne pack, are they going to be able to hang in there long enough with the Yo in behind the ruck, with Liam Martin, going on that left-hand side, and how they handle that. So, I think the other part is, you've got the centres as well, which that right edge, the battle with physicality on the left for Melbourne versus the finesse and Brian To'o and Tungo on the right. So, it's such a good battle. Like, you could play this game 10 times, and usually grand finals, it'd be swayed one way, but it could be 5-5 after 10. They just know each other so well. Melbourne have beaten them twice this year. What goes into that? It's definitely going to be a battle.
Mind games for sure there. There's coaching battles. There's just battles everywhere. Even the coaching battle is really intriguing in terms of how they shape up and wanting to beat each other. The Josh King shout, I absolutely love. I mentioned it yesterday on a preview podcast that I felt like on the weekend he really stood up. There was all this talk going into the game about Nass against Jared Rea-Hargreaves, and I actually felt like in a way it was Josh King that really stood up and gave it to Jared a number of times. He came out of the line and just to show to him, mate, no one really talks about me. I go about doing my work, but I'm going to be here all night, sort of in your face. And now that there is no Nelson for this one, till he comes into the starting side, maybe a bit more pressure on Josh King to be that style of play. But he showed on the weekend that he's more than up for it. And the Bash brothers, effectively, Leota and Fisher-Harris, will want to get out to an early lead. I reckon they'll want to put a really big stamp on this early and put Melbourne back to hopefully chase some points. So that battle is going to be really, really intriguing to watch. Just on the halves side of things, I just want to quickly ask you about Nathan Cleary, because obviously going into the shoulder, into the game with that shoulder injury, there's plenty of talking about it. I'm sure you've played a number of games with injuries. Everyone at this time of year has injuries going into it. He seems like an absolute tough bugger. He just he doesn't stop. And we know from last year's game how he just had that 25-minute patch where probably the best 25-minute patch we've seen at that stage ever, probably. Does it play into your minds a bit going into that game, or you're that solely focused on the job at task? And obviously with one of his best mates, Luai, it's the last time. He just knows what his job is and he'll be getting through it.
Well, they've been there so many times before, so I think it's business as usual. You listen to Isaiah Yeo talk about they've left it at the door when they've won. It's not hey, we did this last year, let's run it back. They've found ways to evolve and adjust and be like water in these situations. So I think Nathan going into this game, he'll be heavily needled, which is not unusual. But the one thing for me, when he went down last week, didn't go to the wing. Yeah. So whilst the shoulder is an issue, he stayed in the line and stayed there. So that to me says that, hey, yeah, it's sore, but it's not unbearable. So I think you'll find Melbourne will go after it. There's no secret behind that. But you've got to be careful not to go off your game plan. You want to go at it. You want to, every time you get hold of him, like, don't be surprised if the first kick he goes to ground and he's roughed up a little bit. But he's smart enough not to put himself in those situations as well. He if he doesn't need to run the ball, he probably won't run the ball. Last week he didn't run the ball much. He just ball played and had 3 try assists and 40-20 and everything like that. So, it's the one thing that both these halves do really, really well. They don't get in each other's way. And I say that sometimes you watch halves pairings and, one person's cooking and the other one's sort of out of the game. Like, Luai finds a way to be in the game, whether it's dancing and running off and offload. Like, even if Nathan was playing great, like last week he was at 8.5, 9, and he didn't touch the ball much, but he was just class in what he did. And then you look at Hughes, he had how many ever tries last week, but Munster ends up running for 200 metres because he didn't overcomplicate things. He knew, I don't have to ball play on the left-hand side. I think he had 18 runs. Like, it's just such great footy. And that's why I feel like it's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be nip and tuck. I wouldn't be surprised if at half-time it's like 6-6 or 6-4 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it'll be an absolute grind. Just to shout out, I think Luai has improved so much as a player this year in terms of his maturity side of things and his all-around game. He has stepped up dramatically. I keep saying it. It feels like ever since he signed with the Tigers, he's just had a bit of a mental change with a few things, and he's just and it gives me a lot more confidence from a Penrith point of view. Like, touch wood, it doesn't happen, but if anything was to happen to Nathan Cleary on Sunday, more confident than ever that Luai can get in there and get the job done and do what he's been doing all year while Nathan was out. Your prediction before we head out of here, Jamie, who's winning the NRL Grand Final?
Penrith 16-12, Isaiah, Clive Churchill.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. And that will be an all-time grand final, and they get it for their 4th in a row. Can they be stopped? It is very, very scary at this point. Jamie, absolutely appreciate it, and I've loved this chat with you. Obviously, it's been 2 parts, basically 2 hours of just talking footy, talking your career with yourself. And I know going off part 1, everyone has absolutely loved it. Can't wait to release the part 2 side of things, and everyone will love it once again. But mate, I really thank you for coming on. I know it's been a bit of a tough time personally on a personal front for yourself, and easily to say no to these sorts of opportunities, and you want to just have a bit of private time and get away from things. But really do appreciate you jumping on and giving me and the page some of your time.
No worries, mate. Thanks very much. Keep up the good work, and enjoy grand final weekend.
I will. What a time to be alive. Bring it on, grand final.